Now let's get into the New England offense versus the Seattle defense. The Seattle defense, coined as the dark side by Leonard Williams, it's been compared to the Legion of Boom all year, and for good reason. They are top 5 in essentially every single category you can think of, but there are things where they are susceptible. Seattle this year is 29th in receiving yards versus tight ends. They are 31st in 20-yard catches that they give up to tight ends, so look for Hunter Henry to be a potential factor in this game. They also have been bad against receiving running backs, which is surprising considering how good they are at tackling after the catch. They've given up the most receptions to receiving running backs, 24th in receiving yards, and 14th in receiving touchdowns. Seattle is excellent, however, against running backs when they do what their name is, which is run. They did not allow a single 100-yard rusher this season. They gave up just 91 rushing yards per game, and they're facing a New England offense that ran for 128 per game, which was top 5. New England had a lot of explosive runs this year as well. You think of like Travion Henderson, all of his explosive touchdown runs, but Ramondre had a few as well. And Seattle is just 10th in the league in terms of allowing runs over 20 and 40 yards. Do you guys see this as the running back room, Ramondre, Travion Henderson, do you guys see this as a strength that will outdo Seattle's defense, or you think Seattle's defense shuts those two guys down?
I think it shuts them down.
I think Seattle's got it. And even really these past couple weeks, it's become more just Ramondre Stevenson. And, like, Travion Henderson's the guy that's like, okay, Ramondre needs a break. So now we're going to put Henderson in, less so of, like, we want to put Henderson in because Henderson is, like, this decided advantage. I do think Ramondre's been running the ball well, but I think even you said they're not going to put a 100-yard rusher. Like, I think I'd take the Seattle defense to shut down just about any running backs they were playing.
Yeah, and the tight end thing doesn't even concern me too much because I feel like, I'd have to go back and contextualize a little bit, but my suspicion would be that
they played a lot of great tight ends.
They played a lot of great tight ends. They played a lot of great wide receivers and shut them down, which meant that you had to go to your check down, right? Yep. So you play Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams. If you shut them down, well, Matthew Stafford, you can't cover both of them and Tyler Higbee. So he's going to hit Tyler Higbee, but he's going to hit Tyler Higbee for 8 yards as opposed to Devontae for 35.
Their division was by far the best tight end division of football.
Oh, yeah,
with
for
George
sure.
Kittle and Jake Tonjes, Trey McBride. And then with Los Angeles and their 13 personnel that they ran so much this year. Seattle was great at tight end, too, with A.J. Barner and Elijah Arroyo. They also had to play Brock Bowers.
They had to play Pittsburgh.
Not Brock Bowers, but Pittsburgh was what I was thinking of.
Yeah.
With their tight end group.
Brock Bowers was preseason. That's why it popped up.
Tyler Warren with Indianapolis, who he did not have a good day against them. It's something to look at. I think the touchdowns thing is interesting. So, like, those of you who may be thinking, oh, Hunter Henry, anytime touchdown bet, they allowed the least touchdowns to tight ends this year. And they were great in touchdowns against everything. But tight ends specifically, they're number one. It is something I would be kind of concerned with. When you just look at New England's numbers, it looks like, oh, Hunter Henry, if I'm not mistaken, he had 7 or 6 receiving touchdowns. That's kind of the layup pick, it feels like. He's going to go to the safety valve. Drake May is, but Seattle's been great against it. So I would kind of lean against that. I will say, though, I'm a complete hypocrite because I've already bet Hunter Henry to score a touchdown in this game.
Yeah, I think that is it will be an interesting thing to watch. 7 receiving touchdowns Henry had this season.
Okay.
Because they have, like you said, the NFC West was a fantastic tight end conference. This is one of the, in my opinion, not the greatest wide receiver room. Stephon Diggs and Matt Collins. Matt Collins, I believe, is coming back from an injury, right? He was injured for a lot of this season. So they're not Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams. And Stephon Diggs, while he's had a better career than he's not as young as Marvin Harrison Jr. Like, there's just, I think, a lot of question marks, and they've proven themselves, but they've done it against good defenses, but this is just another challenge, and it's hard for me to confidently. I know that they've done it, like you said. This is their 4th top 5 defense they've played.
It will be, yes, in the playoffs.
It still is just hard to be like, yeah, well, I know they beat 3. They can do it again. Like
Yeah.
that's so hard a pill to swallow.
If there's anything they have the kind of a mismatch against Seattle, was the tight ends statistically, receiving running backs for whatever reason, and then the other one is deep balls. May completed 35 completions downfield, 20 or more yards this season, which was second behind Matthew Stafford. Seattle was 18th in the NFL in passes allowed 40 or more yards down the field, but they were top 4 in every other receiving stat, including allowing passes 20 or more down the field. So specifically 40 or more down the field, and you think of guys like Kayshon Boutte and these kinds of scenarios, do they have that kind of mismatch where they can hit guys over the top? If someone were to get past Devon Witherspoon and Tariq Woolen, who are two of the fastest corners in the NFL, but you think of maybe a third guy. If they are guarding Stephon Diggs and Matt Collins, and now it's Kayshon Boutte in a spot, maybe that's a spot where Drake May can find some success and hit one or two deep balls that can really impact the game. And we have his numbers up here. He was elite this year when it comes to throwing the football down the field. 9 touchdowns, 1 pick. All of his passer ratings were really, really good. I mean, he was insane
Fantastic
this year.
And that's where that shoulder injury is going to become super critical.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he says he's all right, but is all right like 85, 90%. And if he's 85 or 90%, does he underthrow a deep ball? Does he miss a deep ball that's wide open? He just overthrows his guy, and it's like we're looking back at the game where the Seahawks win by 3, saying, man, if Drake May hits that big play, like, so that's where that shoulder injury is going to be super critical. It's where the offensive line is going to be super critical, because we talked about it earlier. Drake May in his last 3 games has been sacked 15 times.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll say it for the people because this will be a different video. He was sacked 15 times. That's the most sacks in the playoffs for a quarterback that's played 3 or more games since 2021. Joe Burrow was sacked 19 times in 4 games. They go on to
His
lose
season
that Super
ended
Bowl.
on him getting hit and essentially sacked.
Yeah, so yeah, they go and lose that Super Bowl to the Rams. You don't want that if you're a Patriots fan. You don't want that your season in the same way with Drake May being constantly just hounded in the backfield. But I mean, that's a big concern, especially if you're talking about those big play opportunities, because you have to have time in the pocket, and that offensive line has not given him that.
Yeah, the one matchup I really look at is Will Campbell out on the outside, and I think he's really something to watch in this game. The rookie number 3 overall pick, who said he would give his life for Drake May, famously, when he was on stage. Through 3 postseason games, he's allowed 3 sacks and 10 quarterback hits. DeMarcus Lawrence is more than likely his matchup on the left side in this game, and DeMarcus Lawrence had a incredible year. He was a Pro Bowler. He had 6 sacks and 20 quarterback hits in the regular season, and he has 2 sacks in the postseason as well. That is something to look at, is DeMarcus Lawrence versus Will Campbell. Will struggled the last 3 weeks when you think of the pass rushers and Khalil Mack, Will Anderson, and Nick Bonito. Now you got DeMarcus Lawrence bearing down on you. That is a huge thing to look at. And, of course, like Sanders mentioned, the sacks. May was sacked the most out of any quarterback in the league this year. It's not just been the postseason. It's been the entire year. He was second when the regular season ended, and now he's first with the postseason.
Was Justin Herbert first?
I think so, if I remember
Probably.
correctly.
Cool.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to use the new Drake May's played more games. That's the only reason Justin Herbert's not first. Defense, got to defend my guy.
That's a fair point. And you mentioned it briefly, but Drake May and his shoulder has been a huge talking point this week. Jack talked about it earlier. We were talking about it last night, me and him. I do think, now, personal experience as a 5'8" non-athlete, my shoulder was hurting after, a month of throwing the football for a flag football season here in college.
Yeah.
And I can only imagine, I get it, he's a world-class athlete, number 3 overall pick, franchise quarterback, that his first time throwing for an entire season and all the throws and warm-ups and everything, that he is feeling some shoulder discomfort at this point in the year. And it's not just like he slept wrong, like Sam Darnold did, we think, allegedly, with the oblique injury, which he is still dealing with.
That's the rumor.
That is still on the injury report. We'll talk about that in
Did
a
we
little
start
bit.
that rumor, or did?
I think we kind of started that rumor.
Yeah, I think
won't
so.
lie.
I thought
we
so.
can take full credit for it. But
Sure.
for May and his shoulder, there was a play like everyone's highlighted in the snow in the AFC Championship where He lands on his right shoulder. He gets up. He's adjusting his shoulder. No, he's adjusting his shoulder pad. You say it, whatever you want to say. 2 plays later, he throws the flea flicker to Matt Collins, and that was the only pass he threw downfield the rest of the game because it was snowing. So we haven't seen him throw it down the field, and that does become a concern. But him specifically, I'm really interested to see how he'll do against the Seattle defense. Quarterbacks do not fare well against Mike McDonald and the Seattle defense historically. If you combine his Ravens defensive coordinator tenure when he was calling the plays and his time now with Seattle, quarterbacks in their first start against his defense are 10-32, which is insane to begin with. But they score 16 points per game. They throw for just 210 yards per game. Their touchdown to interception ratio is 39-40, and their pass rating is 79.7. This year, quarterbacks not named Matthew Stafford, who was 8 touchdowns, no picks, which is why he's going to be the MVP against Seattle. Quarterbacks not named Stafford, though, against Seattle have thrown for 177 passing yards per game. They are 15 touchdowns, 19 interceptions. They have a 73 passer rating, and they are sacked 3 times per game. Per Vegas, and you can kind of pick around wherever you want to go, where the line is for his expected stat line, Drake May, is 22 completions, 31 attempts, 220 passing yards, and 1.5 passing touchdowns with roughly 40 rushing yards. This year, his average stat line was 21 for 29 for 258, 1.8 touchdowns per game, and 27 rushing yards. So an expected increase in attempts and an expected decrease in yards and touchdowns. For you guys, predict Drake May's stat line. And what does Drake May's stat line have to be? Like, what benchmark does he have to reach for New England to win this game?
Okay. 19 for 34. 215 passing yards. 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. Sprinkle in 34 rushing yards.
Okay.
Well, it was 2-part question: is what is his stat line and what does he have to?
Yeah, we'll get back to the benchmark. What do you think his stat line will be? And then we'll do what does he need?
I'll say like 60% completion, like so 18 for whatever 18 is 60% of. I'm not gonna try and do that math.
Like 32.
Okay, 18 for 32. 268 with, I'm gonna say one touchdown, 2 interceptions. And then actually I'll say 1 touchdown, 1 interception, and then 1 lost fumble, strip sack.
Yeah, I think we're looking at 2 turnovers. I do like him to throw it less than 31 times. I don't know if they get that many plays off in this kind of game, but I do think he throws for 2 touchdowns, and I do think he might run for 1 as well, but I do think he turns it over at least twice. I think this is going to be one of those games that there are a lot of points scored more than you'd think, but there's a lot of like turnover plays and huge momentum swings, and that I personally will love.
Sure.
For stat line, what do you guys think he like kind of has to do for them to win? Does he have to score 3 touchdowns? Does he have to hit 250 passing yards, 70% completion percentage? What's the number for you?
I think it's no turnovers. I think that's a big part of it.
I think it's 1 turnover. I think I think they could win the game if he turns the ball over just 1 time. That 3 touchdowns, doesn't matter, in the air, in the ground. 3 first downs picked up with his legs.
Okay.
And then north of 200 passing yards.
I think it's got to be very north of 200 passing yards because we just said expected stat line. You said was what,
220.
You said 220. Okay, I said 270, so I guess that was a little bit higher.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with. I think that.
I mean, I think we're just realistically I think New England's defense can have a pretty good day as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So realistically, it's just
Yeah.
don't turn the ball over too much.
Yeah, I
and
think
find some
I-
solid success.
I think 0 turnovers was a bit aggressive. I think because you're playing Sam Darnold.
I would love for him to have 0.
Yeah, I
That'd
think
be
because you're playing Sam Darnold, and Sam Darnold had 14 interceptions this year.
14 picks this year.
Yeah.
I think that you can get away with another pick because I think that you can trust
You're
Sam
probably
Darnold.
just trading picks
Exactly.
at that
You
point.
can trade an
Yeah.
interception, but the rest of the game you just have to be really good. So I think limited turnovers to 1. Ideally, you keep it at 0, and then you've got to go and participate in 3 touchdowns. And even then, the Seahawks might. I mean, the Seahawks are averaging. I can't remember off the top of my head. 27 points per game.
Yeah.
28 points per game. So even then, it's a little like maybe you get a rushing touchdown in there, maybe a couple
Some field
field goals.
goals.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it would be close, but I feel like that's what he needs in order for it to be close.
Yeah, the Seattle's averaging 36 in the playoffs, and that was like something that I don't think it's been talked about yet, but it very well, if this game goes one way, which we'll get into the Seattle offense here in a second, but if they were to score another like 36, 40 points, we talk about them like the way we talked about Philly last year, where Philly scored 48 on Washington and 41 on Kansas City in the Super Bowl and had a good day against the Rams in that divisional round. Their offense has performed just as good as Philly's defense performed last year, and Philly's offense. Like when you compare the two teams, they're very, very comparable potentially.
Before we go on, I have one more thing because I feel like we've really hyped up the Seahawks defense and pointed out a lot of issues with Patriots offense. Before we moved on and kind of flipped sides, I did want to say some nice complimentary things about the Patriots offense, and the big one is Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs was kind of exactly what I think Drake May needed this year. Turned into a very consistent weapon, and I'm about to list out some of his stats. Drake May in his year 2, they bring Stephon Diggs, I believe, in free agency this offseason, and he comes in and he's this consistent weapon, right? So you look at his first downs. He's top 10 in first downs. He kind of becomes like a Keenan Allen security blanket. He's got a top 10 drop rate among wide receivers with 90 or more targets. So just like among the most used wide receivers in the NFL, he's not dropping the ball, and he's constantly getting the ball past the sticks, and that's the kind of thing that the Patriots are going to need. Like, I feel like in the playoffs and throughout the season, whenever I turn on a Patriots game, Stephon Diggs was not making his youthful big plays, but he was getting separation on out routes, on slants, and then taking care of himself, getting out of bounds, stopping. Like, he provided the kind of experience and maturity, I think, to this Patriots receiving room that's really helpful with a younger guy like Hishan Butte also in there to provide some of that big play stuff. So that's what they're going to really need, a really good game from Stephon Diggs to continue to do exactly what he's done all season, to get them first downs on 3rd and 7s, 3rd and 8s. That's what they'll need from him, and I think he can do it. Like, he's got one more game left in the tank this year, and then they can figure out going forward what his future is with the Patriots. But that's kind of what I wanted to say to their benefit, that he's been really good this year, doing exactly what was needed of him, and he's a big part of why Drake May is up there as one of the top 2 guys and a MVP frontrunner.
Yeah, he's been a little bit quiet in the postseason, but they've played like 2 bad weather games, especially the second half of the Denver game. But the Houston game was bad weather the whole way, and the Chargers game was just cold. But he's been really critical for them this year, 1,000-yard receiver, and he's been the leader of that group. But if you don't have a guy like that, the other guys aren't allowed to pop. You don't have the seasons that a guy like Keyshawn Boutte has had, or even Matt Collins. And so Stephon, in his first Super Bowl, didn't reach one with Buffalo, did not reach one with Minnesota either. And here he is in his first, of course, didn't reach one last year with Houston.